Oh, good lord, what a week. Well, what better way to start off your weekend than going into quite possibly the worst matchups you could have ever possibly picked. So hey, guys, Brieg just came out. Actually, mad OP, incredibly fun as hell Expo leader. He is broken as fuck in Dark and Light Expo. Actually makes it significantly easier. And just an all-around, in general, really good PvE hero. But how does he function in Guild Wars? Well, the answer is not as well as you would expect. But I think a lot of this is my own fault. So let's go ahead and we'll break down this fight because we're going to be here for a hot fucking minute. So right now, I'm using Destina as an anchor. I'm using regular Basar, green Basar. You don't really see him all that often. I'm using him strictly as a means of debuffing and stripping, and also applying buff block just in case I need it. And Brieg himself, who is going to be pretty much our main DPS going into any and everything that you see. So we're already like, what, 8 turns in, and Brieg's already about to fucking die? So don't let that color your perception of thinking, oh, the unit's just shit, the unit's bad, the unit's bad. I honestly don't think Brieg is bad. I just think that if you're going to use him for expeditions, and you're wanting to use him for PvP, you actually need to build him 2 different ways. Which kinda sucks because he is that good in expeditions. It really feels like you want to maintain that kind of build for expeditions. So let's go into the team that we're going into and why this is actually so painful. 1, we have Crimson Armin on the field. She is strictly there just to pretty much nerf any and all damage that's going to be going into their team because we're using single target damage. And just like, I think she just straight up reduces damage by, I don't want to say 30% because I think that's what it used to be, but like either way, I don't know the exact numbers, she reduces damage. But then the other factor that we're dealing with here is we are on a counter set, and Brieg also just so happens to do a lot of additional attacks that are in his own kit. So with that, we're actually going to be pissing off the Lionheart Cermia a fair bit going through this fight. That is actually very detrimental. As you see there, he is already dead, pretty much because of her. So the good news is we were able to kill the Navy Captain Landy. Mainly because she had the highest attack, because anytime you have max focus, you get yourself a free limited sword arts, which is the name of Brieg's S3. So you get a free one that just happens like on your turn. So think of him kind of like Rylet, except instead of focus, he uses fighting spirit. So he's like a more consistent Rylet, except like there's no dodging that you have to deal with. So whenever your fighting spirit's full and then you use your S1, it cleanses you. And then it activates limitless sword arts. So it's pretty cool, and it also always goes into whoever has the highest attack. So you can kind of use that in a way to fight Navy Captain Landy. It just really feels like if you were going to use Brieg, you really need to protect the President with him. Because yeah, he does have a barrier that he gives himself, but if you want to be offensive, you're going to be sacrificing a lot of defense, and that is extremely detrimental. By the by, you are welcome. We were on this fight for, I shit you not, 16 minutes. You notice that draw available up there? I just straight up had no opportunity to properly bring back units. So here, we finally are able to get our momentum back, and we can actually start playing the game again. What I do is, I decide to go in with Basar's S2, because it also does a blind debuff, and it also does attack down debuff. The attack down debuff isn't really that important, but the blind is. Now, because we had the blind debuff, we straight up didn't get one-tapped by the Cermia going into my Brieg. Now, this looks kind of bad right here. Fortunately for us, we still have a boost on our Destina. We can use that to go into Basar. Then we can just soul burn the S3, which is a irresistible strip and buff block, which that'll take away a lot of her damage, because anytime that she either has Death Break or she, has buff block and she doesn't have defense buff, she'll do significantly less damage. Case in point right here. Also, this is straight up the work of Soul Burning Brieg's S2. Really, really coming in handy. It gives you a lot of extra barrier if you do that. Just barely saved his ass right there. Now, thankfully for us, he also gives himself a fair amount of CR boost every time he uses his S1. So I'm able to zoom along on the map like on the CR bar, pretty decently, and I'm able to get my my Limitless Sword Arts again right here. Now, this isn't super bad because she's already activated her S2, and we strip right there. So now she has Death Break, and she's like, she can't use her her S2 again. So basically, she does next to fucking no damage. So then this gives you another opportunity as Brieg, because his S3 is like also on a different cooldown compared to when he gets a free Limitless Sword Arts from his S1, which we will conveniently have right here. And there's also no reason to ever not use his S2, because it gives you Perception buff. Perception buff is basically free 15% crit and extra 15% crit damage, and also that barrier is very fat and lasts for 3 turns. Also extra turns, and also 50 Fighting Spirit. He's actually a really cool character. I'm really liking Brieg. But, like, using him in GuildWar? Probably not. We'll talk more about him, I guess, whenever we get to the stats section. So, hey, here's another fight right here. You can probably tell I really didn't give a fuck about this, like, team 2. Because, basically, Dark Corvus just super solos the entire team. Basically, here's what you're dealing with here. ae-KARINA is going to go into your Shuna. My Shuna, in particular, has a fair amount of bulk. She has some nice bulk. She has barriers that she can give herself. She can also cleanse with her S2. It's only two debuffs, but that's usually about like all you ever really need. She also gives herself barriers, and along with the whole team, she has a redirect of her HP, of like the entire team's HP. And because we're rocking really hefty bruisers, we have basically just this big-ass battery of HP that we can really kind of do with whatever we please. So that's just Shuna, and Shuna does her job extremely well. Case in point, fuck you, ae-KARINA. Yeah, you can go fuck yourself right there. I hate that shit. Because I've also been trying to use my Hui Young to go into some ae-KARINAs. It works about as well as you would expect. You either do pissant damage, because she's a death-based unit, so she's either going to have like 15 to 16, maybe even 18 something KHP. She's also a blue unit, you might miss. And then whenever she gets her turn to actually go into you, you know, she will actually one-tap Hui Young in one hit, even with barrier, which is super fun. Now, thankfully for us, we're able to just go into her. We have our chance to, like, Soul Burn, the Devil's Descent, just get the ae-KARINA out of the game. ae-KARINA is probably one of the most annoying units that you can really deal with here for multiple reasons. One, she's blue. She's only going to go into your Shuna. Then that also means no crits that are going to go into your Dark Corvus, which is bad. Like, you don't want that to happen. It's just going to slow you down. And also, the bomb damage that ae-KARINA does is deceptively very strong. And if and God help you, if she happens to land a Death Break on your unit that she's hitting into with that shit. It does big damage. And just the mere fact that she straight up just gets it for free. Like, the only time the bomb, I think, doesn't happen is if she misses. But, like, the odds of that happening are very low. I mean, yeah, you could probably fight that with some means of blind and shenanigans of that nature, but I don't know, man. I don't have a lot of units that I really have built specifically to go into this kind of stuff with blind. I mean, maybe I should bring Dizzy back, but then also you're dealing with Senya, and now let's talk about Senya. So Senya is going to go into any of your blue units. I don't have any blue units here. Thankfully for me, she's just going to go into whoever has the lowest HP on the team, more than likely going to be Dark Corvus, and I also happen to have a cleanse on Shuna right here. We'll go ahead and pop that now. Now it's Dark Corvus's turn to delete a unit. Bye, Senya. You're also one of the more annoying units on the team. Let's just fucking kill you now so we don't have to worry about you later. Now, then you're probably thinking to yourself, like, wait a minute. So you could have, like, killed the Mercedes, like, super early, because she has a, you know, extra life mechanic, you have extinction on Dark Corvus. Why didn't you just kill the Mercedes now? Well, this is the main reason why. Because Mercedes has AoEs on her kit, anytime that she goes into Dark Corvus, it's gonna build up Devil's Descent extremely quickly. Case in point, we already have Devil's Descent yet again. So if you kill the Senya and the ae-KARINA first, then you kind of still have your, like, backup battery of Mercedes that can possibly go into you with AoEs, or with her S2 and S3, and I also have Roana with me, so if she ever S2s me with attack buff, I'm just straight up getting healed for free. And that's the team right there. Yay, thanks Dark Corvus, you're based as fuck. Hopefully we won't see him again. Oh shit! Turns out, guys, I'm a fucking hack. So, once again, ae-KARINA, Savior Adin, and Zio. So, once again, I straight up don't want to fight this shit. I'm just not feeling it. Like, this Friday was terrible. I was really, really exhausted. I've had a really rough last 2 weeks. So, like, hey, I don't even want to think about this shit. Don't even want to think. Just, nah. Thinking's bad. So, ae-KARINA is going to go into your Shuna, basically do any and all kind of damage that she's going to deal. It's actually really not a big deal. If you have enough effect resist on your Shuna, you should be able to tank any and all like crazy shit the ae-KARINA is going to do. If you happen to be faster than the ae-KARINA, you can effect resist check her and just use Shuna's S3. If you happen to put her to sleep, hey, awesome. And then right here, because the Savior Adin was going into me mad crazy, I already have Devil's Descent. Now, with Devil's Descent, we don't have a burn, but honestly, I just didn't care. Let's just go into the ae-KARINA. Maybe she's one of those low HP ones, and lo and behold, she was. So, with that said, ae-KARINA is already out of the game, and we still have Savior Adin going into us. So, hey, that sounds super based. And also, the Zeo has, like, gone mad crazy into my team already. And he also lost a turn because we put him to sleep with Shuna. Yo, any of my Zeo players out there just in the comments, anytime you get CC'd and you have Deify up, just how sad do you feel? Please, by all means, tell me how sad that really does make you feel. Because it's like, oh my god, I'm just the most depressed fucker ever. Yeah, I didn't die, but I lost a turn of Deify, which is fucking huge. And that's like one of the big things with Zeo. If you can manage to land CCs on him, just while he's like got Deify up, you will make that Zeo player just super depressed and rethink their life choices. But either way, we got rid of the Savior Adin because, hey, why not? Let's just go ahead and go into her with Dark Corvus. She's the only other threat, and now we just have Zeo here without Deify and with no effect res, so we're probably going to be able to provoke lock him with Dark Corvus, and we do. Super easy. Now, we started off with quite possibly the worst matchup that Brieg could ever have. Do not go into Lionheart Cermia. She will fucking eat you. But what if we go into a Spector Tenebria team? This was something that was deemed, oh, this should absolutely work, because whoever's going to have the highest attack on this team, it's either going to be Navy Captain Landy or it's going to be Spector Tenebria. So what I decide to do first is with Brieg and also with Roana here. I have Roana here strictly as a bait for Edward, and then here's my like thing of, hey, what is this Edward rocking? That is a motherfucking injury set, boys. So basically, the Roana is going to take a lot of damage very, very quickly. We have Shadow Knight Pyllis here with us, basically to give us defense buff if we do not happen to kill the Navy Captain Landy very quickly. So in a way, you could look at this as like, wow, this guy's actually kind of covering his bases, at least somewhat decently, because if the Roana is injured, you're not going to be healing as effectively from the Vigilant Eye procs that Navy Captain Landy would do. However, we just so happen to land Death Breaks very, very easily into this Navy Captain Landy, and all we have to do is just go into her like maybe 1, even 2 times, because we have Death Buff now on Shadow Knight Pyllis. We're going to do a lot of damage with Rocket Punch. Case in point, almost 10k. She's almost dead. Just a single S1 into her, she's dead. Now we have full focus. And who's the other unit on the team who's going to have the highest attack? That would be Spector Tenebria. That bitch is dead. So, the one thing in particular, this did feel good to do, because like now all we have left is Edward Elric, and honestly, he's not going to be able to kill me. The worst thing he would possibly be able to do is maybe he could kill my Roana in the time allotted, but this Edward has a very distinct weakness. This guy's running injury set, and he was running no defense. You should definitely never die that quickly on an Edward Elric. You have to have at least some defense, otherwise that's going to happen to you. Now, let's talk about this wonderful fight. So, hey, LOL, it's a RAN team. Now, this isn't an RNL RAN, but guess what happens right here? Just take a guess. Ring-a-ding-ding. What the fuck is 15%? So, Edward didn't get hit by any debuffs. So, what this means is the Ed is the... I had no real options here. The thing that I could have and should have done is I should have gone into the Ran, got rid of the skill null, and then used my Alencia to go into the Ran to kill the Ran. That's what you should do. Now, what I decided to do was, oh no, the Ran's on skill null. I'm just going to go ahead and just let the Ed's S3 rip into Senya. And hey, I happen to get a crit, so we actually do a fairly decent amount of damage. Doesn't look too bad, but basically we're kind of forgetting that Ran exists. So then here I just decide, okay, well now let's get rid of that skill null. Ran's already taken 2 turns. So all Ran needs is like 1 more turn, he can S2, S3 again. And we haven't really gotten a good opportunity to get good heals off with Doris, because Prophetic Candlestick wasn't proccing, it just procced right there. We happened to get really lucky on Alencia, the fact that she was not provoked by the Senya. Like, that was just mad lucky. Like, we are hyper-inting right now. We are inting so bad, I look like a fucking amateur. But, like, the goal was, oh, we'll have Doris tank all the A-Ravi hits, we'll have Ed tank all the Ran hits, and then we'll have Alencia there to basically injure the A-Ravi and to hopefully deal with the Senya if Ed isn't able to kill her. That was the plan. Didn't quite work out just because of that opening attack that Ran did, and he didn't, like, trigger... he didn't trigger Rise. Something I straight up didn't even know is what the skill is called. The skill that Ed does where he attacks, that's called Rise. But no, Equivalent Exchange is the whole, hey, get that debuff shit off me. So basically, got really unlucky there. Doris is fucking dead. And we were able to go into Senya again right here, take a lot of unnecessary damage because we don't kill here. Thankfully, we kill with the additional attack that we get with Stomp on Alencia. So now Senya's dead. But... now we have to deal with Apocalypse Ravi with just a little bit of baby injury on Proof of Valor, mind you, and she also has her S3 available right now. Thankfully, she hasn't injured me. Thankfully. Because if she did, at any moment, I would be dead now. Thankfully for me, Ed is just super fucking based. I really need to get my injury Ed online. Because it just seems like it's really, really worth it. Now, let's go into this team. This is just straight up inting. This is 100% inting. This is a Lua, a Navy Captain Landy, and a Choux. Now, I wanted to use Brieg throughout the entirety of, like, every single fight, and the only way that I could even think to use Brieg to go into, like, a Lua, Choux, and, like, Navy Captain Landy team was to bring Lilias and just any other kind of DPS with me. Unfortunately, everybody had immunity on the team, so I couldn't go into another unit that didn't have immunity, hope for a death break, and then try to kill with the with Hellflare. So, ultimately, Benimaru was just kind of dead. Like, there was no real way I was going to do anything. Like, that was all on my part right there. I just straight up like, oh yeah, sure, for real. They're not all going to have immunity. Well, they did. But then, like, we lose Lilias. The only reason Lilias was there was as a means of countering the cooldown reduction that Lua does. This way, I actually had Brieg's S2, S3. A lot of fucking good that's doing me right now, because now it's my turn. Brieg's almost dead, and the only thing I can even do is just go into a unit. So I'm like, okay, fuck it. Let's just go into Choux, and we'll just pray that this all works out. Unfortunately for me, mad arrogance on my part. Well, not really even arrogance. I just wanted to use Brieg. I just wanted to use him. And it appears that I was insignificant after all. Sad. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is the Guild War. That is the oh-so-wonderful Brieg debut. So, what are my thoughts on him? Brieg is actually fucking awesome. I actually really, really like this character. The only problem is, I don't think a lot of people really know what to do with him on PvP yet. It kind of feels like if you want to use Brieg, what you should do is either you're going to do an injury set, or you're going to do a counter set. And for both of those sets, if you want to do PvP, you're going to have to sack your damage. Like, the big thing you're going to have to do is you're probably going to go, like, crit neck, and then any and all defense, HP, and, like, your dump stat will probably be crit damage. Like, for example, mine is rocking too much effectiveness, and it is also rocking almost no defense. So I just barely have 20k HP, and I'm squishy. I'm fairly fast for a counter set, but it's, like, not enough to really make a difference. So if anything, I could probably easily lose 20 or so speed just for defense stats, and I think it would help him significantly. But if you wanted to go like a true pure PvP kind of set, you just want to make him unkillable. Now, if he's squishy like this, where because you use him for expeditions, I guess your only real option at that point is you're probably going to be rocking a healer of some kind, like either a Roana, a cleanser, or just something that does damage mitigation, because otherwise he's just dead. But either way, guys, I hope you like this video. If you did like it, go ahead and leave me a like, and if you want to see more of my content, please hit subscribe, you sexy bastards. Later.